cut this branch so it doesn't fall on the body.
We arrive on scene, I activated my body-worn camera. Little did I know what I was walking into.
Yeah, this poor person's been out a while.
I was very shocked that the body was found.
Major crimes was notified. They're 51. Can you contact forensics?
We really were kind of scrambling to make an identification.
The suspect had several weeks of a head start on us.
Think that another human being would do this to a person was very disturbing. I wanted to get this guy. It was like my life's mission.
A woman has just discovered what she believes to be a dead man in a wooded area in Newport Richey's North End.
We think we're responding to a standard death investigation call.
How long ago did you find?
Right as the project on it.
As you called?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he that far in decomp? Yeah. Okay.
Crime scene techs move in to examine the body.
We're gonna make a path and then you guys will be able to come back.
Investigators finally get their first close look at the remains.
In this case, we believe that there was foul play involved. There was evidence of blunt force trauma to her head.
And obviously we can't get a good look at the face yet. Is it just skull bone?
Her dress was pulled over her face. Her stockings were ripped.
Looking at the position of the body, jewelry still on, pantyhose. They didn't take the ring, so it had nothing to do with that. Nope.
Normally, if a body's found, one indication that they were robbed could be that they're not wearing any jewelry.
Yeah, but this poor person's been out a while. Definitely.
This was one of the more brutal scenes I had been to. To think that another human being would do this to a person and leave them without an identity or without any cause or care for that person was very disturbing.
Her toenails did and everything. See, like animals ate those toes off.
Found in close proximity to the body, investigators bag the pair of women's flip-flops, an empty bottle of rubbing alcohol, and multiple items of garbage.
There was some trash on the ground, and we had to decipher through what was evidence and what was not evidence.
Now, at the crime scene, investigators find signs of sexual assault.
Just looking at the position of the body, the arms up, legs.
The way she was positioned, it didn't appear to be natural. She didn't place her dress over her head. She didn't position herself to where her legs were in a V shape. Her legs were posed in a manner that's consistent with a sexual battery.
That's interesting, the way the pantyhose or whatever is ripped. Yeah.
We ended up getting word from the medical examiner's office that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head.
Despite the deteriorated condition of the body,
Bite marks.
investigators are able to pull fingerprints, which they'll run to confirm the victim's identity.
Well, with the weather we've had, it could speed up the decomposition.
They also find traces of DNA they believe could have been left by the killer. And almost right away, they get a hit.
Family and friends are really worried about Judy Therianos. They say it's not unlike her to disappear for a few days, but it is unusual not to hear from her. This week, they filed a missing persons report with the Maine State Police, who say they have notified authorities down in Florida.
52-year-old Judy Therianos disappeared around March 14th, nearly a month before the body was discovered in the woods.
Judy and I took a road trip down to Florida to visit our friend who had cancer. She stayed behind to take care of her, and I returned back to Maine.
The medical examiner's office was able to get a fingerprint from the deceased person, and they were able to determine that our deceased was Judith Therianos.
Investigators have to somehow find out where Judy was and who she was with in the days and hours leading up to her murder. Her best friend, Glenda Cook, provides them with a lead.
Glenda actually had a voice message from Judith.
Hey guys, just Judy.
And we followed up with that with interviewing other people, particularly on this case. There was a person's name that came up in the case named Charlie, and we started investigating that.
Judy met this old guy, Charlie, that showed up at an acquaintance house, and it was the last person that physically saw her.
The search for Charlie would be cut short when, out of the blue, he simply shows up at the police station.
Hey, how's it going, sir? Are you Charles? Yeah. Okay.
When Charlie decided to come to the sheriff's office, it was a little odd and kind of threw us for a loop.
Charlie claims he called Judy over and over, but she didn't pick up and never returned his calls. He also says he brought with him some of Judy's things she'd left behind. The officer on duty collects Judy's belongings from Charlie and photographs everything.
When Charlie gave us some of her property, it assisted in the investigation to help us understand who Judith was and places that she may have visited by being able to go through her property.
We separated into groups. A few detectives went to locate her last known whereabouts, and a couple of us went to a convenience store to obtain video. We concentrated on a convenience store and several other businesses in the area.
The first surveillance video that we located was her purchasing alcohol in a convenience store nearby an area that she was known to frequent.
In the surveillance video footage, we observed Judith purchasing her items. At the time, she was seen accompanied by another person.
Investigators show a screenshot of the man in the video to people living in the neighborhood near where Judy's body was found.
Have you seen anything in the past 2 weeks?
We received information that there was a man named Grizzly who lived nearby in a mobile home park, that he had known Judith.
Short hair, brush cut type of deal.
Grizzly claims the man was looking to get out of town.
He sold his vehicle for a plane ticket.
You don't know where the plane ticket was for, though?
Chicago, that's all he said.
Grizzly says the man left behind a bag of clothes at his place, which he hands over to investigators. And then they're approached by another neighbor.
After we spoke to Grizzly, I was walking back to my car, and a man named Stefan said,
Stefan says he knows Judy and the man from the photo. He also tells detectives about a terrifying conversation he'd had with the man later that night.
Who knows what's in somebody's head? I guess he wanted to confide in me. He says, can I tell you something really bad that I did? I said, I guess, unless you killed her. He goes, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I panicked. I got up and I started pacing. Oh my God. I said, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah, how do you think I feel? And I didn't want to hear no more. At that point, I was freaking out. And then he went on to say something about getting a rush from doing it.
That's not the only thing Stefan says the man told him.
said, yeah, I've been back to the spot 2 times with alcohol.
And when he said alcohol, did he meant like drinking alcohol?
He didn't mean drinking alcohol. I got the feeling that he meant alcohol to clean,
kind of like
clean up or whatever.
Like a peroxide type of a thing, like rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
At the scene, we located a rubbing alcohol bottle. At the time, we didn't know the significance of it. Now we know that he took rubbing alcohol and poured it on her body in an attempt to conceal his identity by killing the DNA.
Let me stop you, I'm so sorry. When you say you and him, who was that?
Tim.
Stefan identified the man as Timothy Johnson.
I wish I could give you more, but...
you better make out.
Very good.
It was a huge turning point for us because it felt like we were getting closer to figuring out who had killed Judith. Timothy Johnson was previously arrested 4 times in Florida for aggravated battery, domestic battery, and 2 times for failed to appear.
I conducted research on Timothy Johnson in numerous databases with the Sheriff's Office trying to obtain a background. I didn't have to look that far for Timothy Johnson because he was incarcerated, and it makes me very happy. Detective Burbridge and I went to the jail to speak with Timothy.
While talking to Timothy, we were able to realize that this is not his first rodeo. When he spoke to us, he was calm, pretty soft-spoken. He didn't appear to be aggressive. This was not the first time he's been interviewed by law enforcement.
She died. Do you know anything about her death? When was the last time you saw her?
Somewhere around March.
Up until now, have you heard that she died?
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of it, yeah.
So you don't know her on a personal level? Is it somebody you would have hung out with?
Just, yeah. We did have sex, but just regular consensual sex.
How many times did you have sex with her?
Once.
Where at?
I remember being next to a dumpster. I remember that.
What happened?
I put her up against the dumpster. We had sex.
Like after that, you guys hang out for a little while?
We had sex. Went our separate ways.
Come on. She may be a free spirit, but she's not trash where she's gonna have sex on a dumpster. That's just stupid. You know, like, it kind of made me mad. Don't criticize your victim like that.
That very day, before detectives can even leave the jail, they receive word that Johnson's cellmate says he has more information about Judy's murder. The informant tells police what Johnson told him about the murder.
We were sitting down talking, and he told me he was having sex with her.
Okay.
She wanted him to stop. He didn't want to stop. He said he choked her.
The informant was able to provide us with specific details.
She passed out. He said at that point he got scared. He pulled her shirt over her head. He hit her with some kind of board.
He knew where it happened. He was able to provide us information that he had sex with her near a dumpster and that he left her body in the wooded area.
After the murder, the informant says Timothy Johnson took Judy's debit card and went to a restaurant.
Timothy was just sitting there nonchalantly. He wasn't panicked, he wasn't freaking out. It was like nothing ever happened to him.
But then, the informant says, Johnson returned to the scene of the crime.
He said he went back and had sex with her again. So I was like, really? Wow.
During all of the investigations that I've worked, I've never seen anything like this.
You want to know the truth. It sickens me.
Pasco Sheriff's Office has arrested Timothy Johnson with first-degree murder.
Based on the physical evidence and the testimony of his cellmate, Timothy Johnson is convicted of murdering Judy Therianos and is sentenced to life in prison.